All right, everyone, a House panel has unveiled legislation to build a border wall between Mexico and the United States. The wall will have a price tag of $1.5 billion, and Mexico isn't paying for it, at least not yet. It's part of a $44 billion Homeland Security funding bill. And it could trigger a government shutdown because you've got Democrats who are just refusing to vote for the bill if it funds the wall. Here with me to discuss, former Hispanic Chamber of Commerce official Pablo Manriquez and Fox News contributor Deneen Borelli.
Afternoon, Trish.
Good to have you here. Pablo, I'm going to start with you because you don't like this, right? You don't like the idea of the wall. You don't like fundamentally what it stands for?
Well, I think that when we get $1.6 billion is roughly what, 28 billion Mexican pesos. And when we get that check, sure, I guess that would complete the campaign promise that Mr. Trump had during the campaign. But I am not willing as a taxpayer to put my support behind a measure that really just underestimates the resiliency of the American immigrant. A wall is not going to stop anyone. Border apprehensions are at an all-time low. This seems like a big loser monetarily, fiscally, as a tax, from a point of view of a taxpayer.
Okay. You're kind of pessimistic there. I mean, look, you say don't underestimate the will of the American immigrant. I get that. You know what? Immigrants are wonderful, and they're able to do great things. But we have a different problem here. We're not getting all the good immigrants coming through. The people that are coming here illegally through the border there with Mexico, a lot of them, and I've looked through the ICE reports, and it's disheartening to see because over and over and over again, these people, you can't do anything about it. You can't deport them because you're not allowed to, because a municipality or a state decides to be a sanctuary area. Deneen, it doesn't seem as though it's asking all that much, and I think, you know, if you look back historically in the Democratic Party, there was a time when Hillary Clinton was all for borders too. What has happened where suddenly now we want to make it some kind of free-for-all?
Sure. Trish, it is outrageous for people to think that we should not be protecting our citizens and our property. That is the government's basic role to do so. There's a story out recently of a man who was here illegally, deported 7 times, drunk driving, killed a father of 3 children. There are countless stories out there of people who come here illegally, which is criminal, and then they commit crimes against law-abiding Americans. It needs to end.
And if you're living in a place like San Francisco, there's nothing San Francisco can do about it.
Right. And I think it's outrageous when you have politicians and law enforcement who are standing on and supporting these sanctuary cities. Where are the sanctuary cities for Americans? The Kate Steinleys of America and Jamil Shaws of America. There are countless stories of American families who have been harmed by criminals who come here illegally, and we don't know about those stories, those faces. Something needs to be done.
Pablo, can you not just at least admit that? I mean, if you're going to have a country, you got to have borders.
Right, and the bad apples, like the situation of the drunk driver that Deneen mentions, are cases in point where these people should have been removed. I mean, the guy that I think it was the Breitbart coverage pointed out, he had been here and he had been deported 7 times, and somehow he just kept resurfacing.
But what about those who come here illegally, and what about those who come here the right way? You know, what about their responsibilities in paying money and going through it legally? And then you have people who come here anytime they want, crossing the border, and on the other hand, also creating havoc.
I think that there is a lot of havoc that gets created by a few bad apples in this massive barrel.
Beyond
but
a
on
few
the
bad
whole, these people.
apples.
Well, I think on the whole, though, these people are actually very, they're the essence of American resiliency. The American immigrant is something that's been building this country since the beginning.
They need to come here the right way. I'm sorry. And this was one of President Trump's campaign promises, to build a wall, protect citizens, and to end this nonsense that's going on when there's criminals coming here illegally across the borders and harming innocent Americans.
Well,
it's outrageous.
I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems kind of ludicrous that we even have to have this debate. If you are a country, you have borders, period, end of story. And yes, you can be all for immigration, but people have to do it in the right way.